Welcome to the Be Better Podcast, an initiative of the University of the Free State Organizational Development and Employee Wellbeing Department. Here, you'll find inspiration to be better at your job, with others, and most importantly, with yourself. You'll hear new things, old things, and hopefully experience the moment of clarity that you've been waiting for. So, listen on. I'm Gerben van die Kerk, and with me today is Grant Lottering, the original Mr. I'm Possible. Now, in 2013, Grant's heart stopped beating after an horrific cycling crash in the Italian Alps. Grant, before we talk about that day and what happened after it, I want to know how your life was like before the accident.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's great to be here. Generally, I split that in two. So on the one end, my life was like pretty much everybody else's life. Going to work, 9 to 5. You've got a job to do. You've got priorities. You've got all that stuff going on, which was the case for me. But on the other end, it was also the way I lived my life that to me was the biggest change since my accident. So before my accident, I was pretty much living for me, myself, and I. I would like to think I was always a nice guy, but I certainly was not being as relevant in my life towards other people as I could have been. So that's been a major change for me.
What were your dreams for your future before the accident?
Well, look, I had a career. I was working full-time, for ABSA consultants and actuaries, and I enjoyed it. I had every intention of working there as close to retirement as I could. And I started investing in property. I had a nice sort of property portfolio built up, and I bought my parents' house. And so I had some plans. And but yeah, I had my sport. I always cycled. I continued racing. That's why I ended up in Italy for that race anyway. But my intention was absolutely to live a peaceful, quiet life. I think we all have a dream, something we dream towards. And mine was to do exactly that. Have a peaceful, quiet life.
And then the accident happened.
Yeah, very, very traumatic and the total opposite. Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, well, look, I came around a corner too fast early in the race, way too fast, racing down a mountain, and I misjudged the corner completely. I'd never been on that road. I was in a small group. I was trying to stay with guys who were familiar with the road. So I just went straight on and I crashed into a rock, a massive big rock, part of a ridge. And fortunately I didn't hit my head, but I fractured pretty much everything else, 22 bones in total. Lots of internal bleeding, my lungs collapsed, my thorax collapsed, internal bleeding, my abdomen, my spleen, lots of really, really bad injuries. Severe chest trauma was the worst, and my shoulder was totally crushed, my right shoulder. Took the brunt of the impact.
And you were almost declared dead at the scene.
Yeah, I spoke to the head of the ICU unit was in the race official's car, and he was still behind me. So he came upon the accident very, very quickly. And he came to visit me in hospital after I was discharged from ICU, and I was in high care, and he came and he sat with me, and, he already had that video footage, that graphic footage, which another competitor recorded with his GoPro on his helmet. So he explained to me what happened. He said they defibrillated me twice, and there was no heart rate. It wasn't working. And he kept ventilating. And while they were getting me ready, I don't know time-wise, it must have been, I don't know, he's probably talking about 30 seconds around there, they started to get a faint heart rate. And he said then he had hope again, but he told the guys with him, he said, we lost him. We've lost this guy. So, yeah, that's pretty, especially looking at that footage, looking at myself dying, that's something that I'll never forget, something that I will always look back on as to how fortunate I am to be where I am.
And you were well aware during the accident or after the accident that you are seriously injured?
I was, because a lot of people think I crashed and that was it. I was out cold and came around in hospital. Not the case at all. I was aware of what happened. And I visually saw the guy crashing into me coming around the corner because I was lying half in the road and he fractured my right femur. And I can remember that clearly, that impact. Oh, it was horrific. So I can still remember all the chaos around me, the people, the faces above me, trying to help me, because I ruptured veins in my neck and my right arm. I was losing a lot of blood. according to an actuary at APSA, I am 37% Italian now. With all the blood they had to give me. So it's a bit too little to get a passport, unfortunately.
Just too little.
But yeah, I lost a fair amount of blood.
Now, normally such an event divides one's life into before the event,
yes,
and after the
very
event.
much. Yeah.
Now, first of all, you were not supposed to have been, there wasn't supposed to be an after. You were supposed to die. So tell me, Grant, after the accident, and how did your dreams change?
Yeah, massively. For one, all goals and dreams I had before the time, that they were just obsolete. I mean, yeah, I had to go back to work. Life goes on, doesn't it? But I knew that this happened, and it happened for a reason. At that stage, I didn't know what. But my outlook changed completely from, firstly, I made peace with what happened, and I just changed my attitude completely. We don't have time to talk about that, but I started seeing it as something that happened for me, not to me. And I've been asked this question before, what's the biggest change you've had in your life since the accident? And it would be that I now live a life of gratitude every day. People take their days for granted, big time, and complain about the silliest little things, which really, in the big picture, doesn't help at all. So I've changed. I don't sweat the small stuff anymore. I try and make a difference wherever I can. My outlook on life is outward, towards others, not inward, towards me.
I mean, then you have the right name. You take nothing for granted.
Yeah.
Very well. Now, the theme for our men's breakfast was between a rock and a happy place. And that is exactly where you were. You hit a rock at the side of a mountain at full speed, and somehow you got here. And that's a happy place.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
It was a happy place, but not an easy place. Let's not confuse the two. It's definitely not easy. But you can be happy in the midst of difficult times too if you are grateful for what you have. Because that's often the thing is people hit a rock, pardon the pun, or no pun intended, and then they never get to the happy place. And I think it's because of the way they accept what has happened. So I accept it, but also I gave myself goals and visions and plans straight away. And that is how you do it. I firmly believe that. You've got to keep taking that step, no matter what you're going through. Don't go and sit in a heap of ashes and feel sorry for yourself. And don't let the situation become overwhelming. So many people forget the goals they had and the dreams they had. They forget about them because of the situation they're in. You should do exactly the opposite. You should focus even more on your goals, and that helps you get through the situation you're in. That's what I chose to do.
We are talking to Grant Lottering, a true inspiration. What do you think is the one thing that helps you navigate through the accident and the recovery to the place you are now?
Yeah. The first one was, sometimes things happen and you've got to accept it. It happened, get over it. But it's not that simple, is it? So for me, I knew as a believer, as a person of faith, I knew that this experience has a purpose. And I think with all of us, our experiences, and it's not limited to people who believe. Many people do not believe. It doesn't matter. It means that when things happen in your life, there's a reason for it. And you need to do something with it. So that's how I look at it. There's purpose in what happened to me. And I believe I'm still on the road in finding it. I don't think I've reached my full purpose yet.
Have you reached your full potential?
I've not reached my full potential, no. I don't think anyone ever does. I don't know. That's something I'd like to debate with an expert, like Jordan Peterson. What does he think? I don't think your potential has a limit. I don't think you're born with only so much potential. I think it's all about your mindset and how you look at yourself and how you look at your circumstances. You can stretch and improve and increase your potential as you go through life. Some people do stuff that no one ever thought they would ever be able to do. That's part of their potential, but they've developed it. They grew in it. So That's my view.
And you've done things that you never imagined you would do.
No, absolutely. Yeah, if you told me 10 years ago I would be riding my bike the way I am now, I would have thought you're drinking something. I would not have agreed at all.
Now, do you have advice or a message for men who don't feel brave? You know, someone who is struggling to find their purpose in life.
Yeah, I finished off with a sentence today with a quote at the breakfast talk with the men. And I said, when you are prepared to fail, when you give yourself permission to fail, I think a lot of people don't want to do that. They cannot face the risk of failing because of what will people think and what will I do and what if. But if you give yourself permission to fail, at the same time, you are actually giving yourself permission to excel, to achieve something extraordinary. So be prepared to do that.
Now, before we close, what is one thing that you wish all men would start doing today to improve their outlook on life?
Yes.
Apart from starting to cycle.
Yeah, and obviously considering your faith and your spirit and all that as well. But I think one thing is, especially in today's society, it's okay to be vulnerable. Men struggle with that. It's seen as a sign of weakness. If you are vulnerable, if you fail, if you don't succeed in something, or if you struggle, if you need help to get through a situation, a lot of guys still try and deal with it internally and put up that strong facade for their family. Yes, they have to, but you know what? If you have a few people in your inner circle that you can be vulnerable with, that you can get that out, I think that's where you can make massive, massive progress. And I was one of those guys, and no longer. I have an inner circle, and I can share my struggles, my personal issues with some guys, and it's changed my life. So be prepared to be vulnerable. It's not a sign of weakness.
Grant, thank you so much for your time and wisdom and
Thank
for
you.
making the world a better place.
Trying my best. Thank you.